Welcome to your midweek daily rundown with me, Dan Morfitt. This is the show on Channel 7 where we look at some of the day's big talking points and some little bits that you may have missed too. Things up for debate on this daily rundown include the UKIP leadership race, student loans and America's favourite sitcom, Trump's campaign. But first it's time to introduce those guests that'll be helping me wade through it all. Stand-up poet, man from nerd and or geek, and Pokemon Go playing playwright, it's Cal Doughty.
Hello, you alright?
I'm very good. Cal, how many Pokemons have you got now?
Too many. I think it's over 145. Not different ones, just like in total.
Because how many are there in total?
Right now, 151 on the game.
He knows his stuff. And also joining us on the Blue Banquette, it's the Scotsman who is now a fully adopted Manx Sassenach, corporate finance specialist, music lover, trustee and ambassador. We are really, truly spoiling him with that introduction. It's Stephen Lindsay.
Good evening, how the devil are you?
Oh, we're very good, sir. You?
I am absolutely splendid and truly flattered by your erudite introduction.
Well, you know, if there's any credits coming somewhere, they've got to come to you tonight because
fair play.
Cal's a Pokemon Go player.
Keep them coming because I have zero Pokemon.
Oh, it's good. Can you lend him some?
No.
No.
It's a ruthless game.
Pokemon gone. Now, if you want to get involved with the show and have your say on anything we chat about, just tweet us at The Daily Rundown. Go on, you will not regret it. Follow us while you're there, because otherwise you've wasted your time. At The Daily Rundown. Right, time to look at our first news story now. Britain is set to become the EU's new counter-terrorism security commissioner, despite the UK voting to leave the European Union. Sir Julian King has been given the key role by Jean-Claude Juncker. Despite the European Commission presidents previously warning that Britain would face the consequences of leaving Europe, the surprise move means that as the UK prepares to leave, a Britain will be that new commissioner for the security union tasked with helping to fight terrorism. Outlining Sir Julian's new role, Mr Juncker struck a different tone to the one he adopted ahead of the referendum. A letter seems to imply that Britain and the EU share a united and clear purpose. So, what do we think that this means in the fight against terrorism post-Brexit?
I think it's a delicious bit of irony, really, that he's gone across there and been able to do this. It almost, in a way, takes away from what the EU was saying, that we would struggle with this terrorism stuff following the Brexit. Terrorism stuff is putting it quite lightly, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's that sort of thing. I think it's a nice bit of irony there.
There is. I think the key thing is we're still in the EU.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the EU president or anyone else says, for that matter. At the moment, it's just an opinion and, to some extent, posturing and positioning themselves for a negotiation, perhaps. But when it comes to something like security, it's even if the UK leaves the EU eventually. And we might not, of course, but if we do, as we expect to, there'll still be a coordinated approach as regards.
We'll still be working with Interpol and intelligence services.
Because Britain as an island, for people to get to it, the chances are they'll be coming from Europe because it's closest. So there must be arrangements between the two. So, is there any real significance in this guy being given the position he's being given in terms of the EU referendum vote? I'm not entirely convinced there is, particularly.
Well, Cal has pointed out the delicious irony that.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's all it is, just a delicious irony to it.
It's almost a point of we are stronger together, but we've already shut the door on that virtually. The thing with this, though, we've got heightened times at the moment after attacks in Nice, in Paris, in Munich, in Spain, and our head police officer, the head of the Metropolitan Police in London, has said that it's not a case of if, but a case of when. There's been increased armed response units on the streets of London today. Yeah. Do you think that's part of the fear as well?
I don't think it's associated. I would be surprised if it's associated with this appointment, because I think I think they're separate things. The guy, he's definitely right when he says that it's probably when rather than if, because unfortunately that's just the way things are at the moment. And anyone, I'm always more suspicious of people that, especially people in positions relating to security, or politicians say we will prevent, it will not happen, because it's impossible to guarantee such a thing. So I'd rather they were actually quite honest and said we should be worried because something could happen. But on the other hand, we've all then just got to get on, because the worst thing we can do is stop behaving the way we would behave and doing the things we'd normally do and going to the places we'd normally go because of the threat from extremists. The best thing to do is stick it to them by carrying on regardless.
Because the whole point of terrorism is to terrorise your daily life, your routine, your norm.
By splitting us all apart, I think that they win a little bit, the terrorists, with that. I mean, I think you say the EU playing hardball. They must know now more than ever that to shut another country out who could be supporting them in some way would be madness. You need everyone to essentially come together and build that defence together. Is
the appointment of Sir Julian maybe a show as well that Britain's got it right on the intelligence front in the last few years? Of course, there was the 7th of July bombings in 2005, which were absolutely heinous, but since then they've been on game, really. And we've seen terrible attacks on the continent. Nothing's happened like that here. Is it because of our well-rooted, well-drilled security and police arrangements? Possibly. I mean, without actually being on the inside, I think it's hard to tell if that is definitely the case for us, or if it's just a case that they haven't seen any reason to necessarily attack us. I think Britain as a whole tends to look at itself as quite a important big player in the world stage, but maybe to some other areas we're not considered a considerable target for the time being. It could very well just be as simple as that.
I think it's from what I've read, and you never know, as you rightly say, unless you're in it, you can't really make the comparisons. But from what I've read of it, our security services have definite faults in many respects as regards the level of surveillance they want to sort of put upon people if given a chance. But in terms of what they achieve, they are actually very effective. If you make the comparison with France, it seems to be the case that our intelligence services seem to be more effective at spotting things and potential problems than, say, the French are. But we certainly would never know.
Is it because we had the practice for so many years with the Northern Ireland terrorism, from both ends of the division? We are better equipped, better trained. We've always lived with terrorism in the UK. It's the so-called Islamic State threat. And what used to be the Al-Qaeda threat was never as big as the Northern Ireland threat and bombs going off in Warrington and Manchester. That's always been part of our life, so I think we're more used to it. What's been happening in France, they've not really had to deal with before. They've never had to deal with such... And it's true terrorism in France because they are truly scared of it. It's what happened at the Bataclan and happened on the seafront at Nice on the promenade when a truck just swayed through. They're not used to any of these measures, really.
Absolutely.
But those sort of things, I think it's hard to even be prepared for that sort of stuff, like the truck going through all those people. That isn't setting up a bomb or anything. That is just a sudden spur of the moment attack, which I'm not certain you could be prepared for, or even have intelligence to prepare for, unless you.
But the attack on the Catholic priest happened with somebody who was under their surveillance, on bail, and actually had a tag on. The only time that they were allowed out was the time they did the attack. You can't really envisage that happening in the UK.
No, you would hope not. And going back to the truck attack in Nice, you're quite right. You're never going to be able to stop that happening, but stop it potentially happening. But actually, there was a rule in place that said trucks, anything above a certain size, should not be beyond a certain point towards the front that night, that day.
Right,
So actually it should have been stopped before it was. So actually there was a security alert, not an intelligence one, but just a physical, whoa, hold on a minute, you're not allowed through here in a truck. end of.
And that wouldn't have happened in the
If you're
UK.
delivering croissants, you're not getting through.
So they should have stopped it for a completely different reason to this. Like,
That
this
wouldn't have
whole
happened in the UK because we're used to those measures being in
I
place.
think so.
And we're used to the protocols and we're used to living with it. We know it's not somebody being a job's worth.
That's it.
Maybe that's why the atrocity happened in France, because somebody thought, well, it's not my job
That's
Yeah.
it.
to do that,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't want to be the one to bring it down.
Correct.
There is this beautiful thing, though, with this appointment of a Brit to the Security Commission, that it does show that we are better together and stronger together. Do you think this man is going to be the one that helps Europe come together and hopefully eliminate this terrorist threat that's become so prevalent, especially this year?
I'm not sure if it's possible to eliminate a terrorist threat completely. I think there will always be some sort of underlying want there. I mean, that's how they get people on to their side in the first place, is that there is within a group of these people that want to bring some sort of destruction to the rest of the world. So I think to eliminate it completely is impossible, because you just need the right conditions for a new power to rise up. But I think certainly having this man on board can only help things, and he seems like a good person to do that.
And do we think he's going to be outlining more threats? Because at the moment we're worried about ISIS and people pledging allegiance to them. Al-Qaeda seems to have taken a back burner. Before that, like we've said, the Northern Irish problem was the thing, and you know, even Basque separatists before that.
So I think the difference with Islamic State is that it is a truly international issue. You know, the IRA, talking about Northern Ireland, separatists in whatever country, to use that generic term for it, will do what they do in that country.
Right.
Because that's where their issue is. Islamic State's a different thing. You know, the jihadist movement is whoever it is at the time, is actually about a world doing things to the extent they can across the world.
Yeah.
Now they won't obviously do that entirely, but it can literally, theoretically at least, be anywhere, and that's why actually in some respects that is even more of an issue.
Absolutely.
Because you've not got a particular geography that you're dealing with, if you see what I mean.
So it's maybe not just a pan-European thing, but a pan-worldwide problem that needs to be seen.
It's
Because you think about what Islamic State are doing in majority Muslim countries.
Yeah.
They are killing more Muslims than they're killing.
We just heard of more bombings in Mosul today.
Absolutely.
Right, that's not that problem sorted. We'll probably be coming back to the terrorism question again on the Daily Rundown. That's the end of part one. Still to come, Pokemon no trespassing and the UKIP leadership election. Get the kettle on, and the three of us will be back in just a few minutes here on Channel 7 with your Daily Rundown. Do not go away.